Hey everyone, Morgan here. So today I'm going to talk about a few ways that we prep food that's probably going to be really controversial, and like a lot of people just don't prep this way. They don't prep their food this way. When you get into the prepper community, one of the first things you hear is, of course, beans and rice. Thing is, our family eats a lot of rice, doesn't eat a lot of beans. Now, I do still store beans, but I also store a lot of canned beans as well, because canned beans are so much easier because you just literally open up the can, and the canned beans actually do last a long time. Now, do I also store dry beans? Yes, absolutely, because dry beans are going to last longer than the canned beans. But here's the thing, again, we don't eat like a ton of beans, so I don't store a ton of beans. Now, again, a lot of people are gonna be like, well, where are you getting your protein? There's so many ways to get protein outside of beans. And of course, beans and rice are a fantastic, easy meal, but it's not all we prep, because it's not all we eat. We prep exactly what we eat, and it's so easy to do that. It's ridiculously easy to just prep what you eat. You don't eat rice, don't store it. You don't eat beans, don't store it. Now, if you eat it occasionally, then store it occasionally, right? But if you eat more pasta, or if you eat, like a lot of stuff with flour, you eat, like a lot of stuff, just whatever, right? There's so many more options. And you can also learn to cook these things from scratch. Like, I know how to cook pasta from scratch. So like, I do store pasta, but I also store plenty of flour and powdered eggs and things like that, so that I can make pasta from scratch. And you can also make pasta without eggs too, so just the flour and water. You can, make, your own sourdough of flour. Like, we store a lot of flour, okay? We store a lot of flour. I could easily go through about a 50-pound bag of flour a month. If that's making all my bread, all my, desserts, making the pasta from scratch, making everything from scratch. That's making literally everything from scratch. Okay, so my point is, you know what your family eats. Store that. And one of the easiest ways to know what your family eats is by cooking it, and if you're that part of the household, then you know what is being, even if you don't cook the meals, you're eating them. You know what you eat, right? You know, oh, well, we eat a lot of pasta. We eat a lot of rice. We eat a lot of these types of vegetables. We eat a lot of this type of meat. What do you eat, right? And then store that. I do not recommend using food storage calculators, because they give a false sense of what you should be storing. Like, a lot of these food calculators, they give all this food, and of course all of these foods are suggestions, right? So I store a lot of corn because we do eat a lot of corn products. So like, I'll store the dry corn so that I can grind it up into a cornmeal and use it like that, right? For like pancakes and corn muffins, and a bunch of different stuff. We do like little corn patties. We do eat a lot of corn, and so I store that. But it said something like a really low number, and I'm like, wow, I store way more than that. So these food calculators give you a false sense of what you should calculate. Now, of course, these are supposed to just be starting points. Like, oh, this says I should be storing, 400 pounds of flour, but really I should be storing 600 pounds of flour because I use about 50 pounds a month. So you have to calculate your own needs. You can't use a food calculator from some random site. You need to calculate your own needs. And the way that I do that is I literally just look at the food that we eat, and I know like how much I'm going through. Like, I'll go through a box of macaroni for 3 meals, let's just say, or 2 meals, whatever it is, right? Or I'll go through like a 2-pound bag of egg noodles in 1 meal or 2 meals, or whatever the case may be, right? That if that 2-pound bag takes 1 meal and you want to be eating this 3 times a week, then you will get how many? 2, 4, 6. 6 pounds of those at least for that 1 week. And I've talked about meal planning for preparedness. I'm going to put a link down to that video, and a link down to a blog post that I have. But it's so important for us to just know what we eat and store that. And a lot of people suggest that you should store things that you don't eat for trade, or, just in case I might like it one day. That, do whatever you want. I'm not telling you that you should or should not do these things this way. But I think that for me personally, I'm not going to spend my time or money or space on things that maybe I'll trade for, or maybe I'll eat someday. If our family doesn't eat it, I don't eat it. Now, we will constantly experiment with new items, and if we like that item, I will store more of it, right? So constantly be trying new canned foods, and if you like it, store it. If you don't, then don't, And if for that just in case a trade, I guarantee you already store so many things. Just store the foods that you like, and then store a little bit extra of those foods that you like for trade, if that's what you want to do, Like, you don't have to store foods that you don't like just in case somebody else likes it. It's almost a huge, huge chance that the foods you already store are going to be foods that other people like, right? So just store those foods that you already like, but just store a little bit extra for trade, right? The last thing I want to talk about is calories. We do not store food based on calories. And that's a huge thing in the prepper world. Like, oh, you got to store at least 2,000 calories a day per person, 2,500 calories a day per person. I do not eat 2,000 calories a day. My kids do not eat 2,000 calories a day. My husband might eat about 2,000 calories a day. Now, the calories will depend based on your exercise level, your movement level. If you're moving more, you might need a little bit more calories. But if you're sedentary, you need less calories. But I just don't look at calories. I look at the food that we eat regularly, and then I store extra of that food that we eat. If I know that we eat, one mac and cheese a day or whatever it is, that's it. I'm just going to make sure that we have at least enough mac and cheese to make for every single day. You know what I mean? That's a lot of pasta. It's a lot of cheese. It's a lot of powdered milk. It's a lot of powdered butter. I know. Okay. But I'm just saying, I don't look at that as calories. Like, oh, well, I need this set amount of calories. I do not look at calories. And I know that people are going to be like, you're dumb for not looking at calories. I don't care. I look at what we eat. I go right back to the beginning of what I've said. Look at what you eat. If you eat like a cup of rice, right, then I'm going to go by cups, or I'm going to go by pounds, right? I'm going to go by, if my family eats a 5-pound bag of rice every week, then I'm going to store a 5-pound bag of rice plus like an extra 5-pound bag of rice, you know what I mean? For that 1 week, just in case we eat more rice or whatever, you know what I mean? So look at it in what you eat. It is literally that simple. People overcomplicate it by trying to add in, the calories, and they try to add in, well, I need to store all this stuff that I don't eat, or, I need to store things that, I hope to eat one day, or I need to store things that I don't even know how to cook. That's another one. A lot of people store things they don't know how to eat. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to prepare. Don't do this. Do not store food that you don't know how to eat or that you don't know how to prepare. If you're storing beans and you've never cooked beans from like raw beans, learn. It's so, so important for you to understand the process. You don't have to be cooking beans every single day, but at least do it like once or twice to understand like how it's cooked, right? Understand the resources that it takes to cook those beans and to prepare those beans and soak them and blah, 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 And again, by cooking from scratch and learning to cook these things, what you can store, right? So because we make mac and cheese, I know that, I need the powdered milk and the powdered butter and the macaroni and the powdered cheese. And those are all things that I store. It's all the ingredients. So the more you cook, the more you bake, the more, you cook, yeah, right? The more you're going to realize what you need to store exactly. And then you just store those things. And of course, don't forget, all the things. Don't forget the seasonings. Don't forget, I do like a lemon powder. Don't forget those, and don't forget like, electrolyte powders. Don't forget coffee, teas, all these things. Don't forget that stuff as well. If you consume it, you should be storing it. Okay, I'm rambling. I'm just trying to give you guys ideas, I'm just trying to show you a different way to prep. You want to keep prepping based on calories, you go for it. You want to keep prepping, foods that you don't eat in case of this or in case of that, in case you might eat it one day or in case of this. Do it. I'm not telling you not to do these things. I'm just showing you how we prep our food. And it works. It works fantastic. We just prep what we eat. Period. End. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.